G'day viewers, well, let's dive into this Onan restoration repair project. I got the sump off and the carnage isn't initially as bad as I thought. The conrod got bent because as it popped in, the crank went around and punched that and gave it a good whack. We bent the conrod and it's flattened out the bearing end cap in one piece, and that's what's hit the camshaft and smashed it. Like I said, I have got a spare camshaft because it's extremely hard to find a camshaft for these Lincoln generator specific CCKA engines. So that's the hardest part I've got here. I've ordered the correct conrod and the bearings, so they're on their way. They weren't too expensive for shipping combined, they were manageable. But looking for new pistons, standard pistons, the prices and shipping were just astronomical, so bugger it. This piston's, although the crown's broken here, it only comes to about here at its bottom most part of the cylinder, so it's not going to get cockeyed, and it's smooth, it's not going to damage the walls of the cylinder, so I've checked all that. Plus we've got some scoring there, but it's only a very fine amount of scoring. Nothing to worry about, only because, I'll get my light here, I'll just show you. We have that pitted cylinder wall from the start when me and the old man first got it going. So, although the pitting in the cylinder wall isn't too bad, it's a little bit there, you can see it looks kind of dramatic. It looks much worse than it is. That's actually probably, I reckon 10 or 20 thou either size will fix that. But the actual piston rings themselves are completely fine from hitting those imperfections in the cylinder wall. So the rings themselves are fine, that's the main part. Most of the damage is, the actual crank itself. We have a little bit of, there's no aluminium welded to it, or babbitt I should say. There's no babbitt welded to it. There's no bad gouges taken out of it, it's just grooved, very slightly grooved. Now I could get the crank reground and use oversized bottom end bearings, but there's a local engine reconditioner shop locally that can do that, but it's probably going to cost a bit to do that. It'll make this cost prohibitive. It's not too bad, but you can see the damage it's done on the bottom of the cylinder on the block. We've got a chip there, we've got a chip there. We've got a little oil pipe in there somewhere. You can probably see the oil pipe going up there. I'm going to have to replace that because that's been smashed and destroyed. There it is, you can see there, the oil pipe in there. I'm going to have to make a new one of those up. You see where it's hit the camshaft up in there somewhere. There's part of the camshaft. Bit of block that's been chipped away near where the breather is. It's not the actual train, the actual valve train itself where the lifters are. They still move in and out on both sides, so that's like they're okay. There's no damage there, so lucky. Because if they were smashed, then it's done for. But they're not, so that's good. There's a slight crack in the block where the valve springs are inside the top of the block. There's an oil hole, drain hole. It's not a pressure port, it's the draining port. Over, where is it here? Over there somewhere. There's a little hole there in the bottom of the cylinder. A drainage port for the valves, where the valve spring is. There's a crack there, but that's not a pressure port, that's not critical. That's just a drainage thing. Yeah. I kind of regret throwing out the other Onan engine parts when they're moved from the farm, because I had the whole piston and conrod there. But had I have known this was going to happen, I would have just pretty much just bought bearings. And the other block, although it wasn't No, actually, no, it was damaged worse than this, actually. It actually smashed the valve train, and the lifters weren't moving freely, so that block was damaged worse off. Plus, the pinning in the cylinders was a lot worse anyway, so... Other than the block, I pretty much would have had a whole piston and rod, but I left it behind for scrap when we moved from the farm. So I kind of regret that. But these are widely available. You just got to pay a little bit of shipping to get them here. But yeah, had a spun bearing initially, which when me and my old man were running it back in the day when we first got it going, we had some imperfections in the fan assembly when we put it back together. We just thought it was that making a noise and it was going to come good. It was quiet for a bit, then it was knocking a little bit. Then when I was running it, it got a bit knocky, but by the time I shut it off, it was too late. The damage was done. As I said, it ran for about, what, a minute or so, then she let go. Yeah, most of this damage is just from the momentum of the flywheel and this alternator. There's a lot of mass in that, and that's what's done the damage. Without this sort of load on it, it wouldn't have done so much damage, but that alternator's quite a bit of momentum. I've checked the actual where the piston goes in and out of the cylinder walls. There's no actual deformations at all, even in the back of the cylinder where the piston comes back to the bottom of the stroke. So I'm lucky there. Ideally, an oversized hone the cylinders oversized and hone the grind the crank at oversized bearings is ideal to fix this properly in the long run. But yeah, it's too cost prohibitive, unfortunately. If I live in America where these parts are plentiful for next to nothing, yeah, I'll go ahead with it, but it's not so easy when you live in Australia. Everything's expensive to get things here. It makes the right to repair bloody hard, which is absolute bullshit. Yeah. It'll be alright as it is. It's not ever going to be the same again. Mechanically, it's just scraped through unscathed. Yeah, but ideally, oversized a new block, or I can't get a crank. I can get a new original crank for this engine, shipped from America, but it'll cost me about figured $150 just in shipping. So, yeah, that's cost prohibitive. I would have had a crank as well as a spare piston and rod, but I don't think that crank was as bad though. I can't really remember. I might have had a bit of scoring in the wasn't as bad as that, I don't think, though. It was worse than this, actually, I think. It had more gouges in it. This crank doesn't have as much gouges, so... I cannot for the life of me get this fan off, though. That's going to be a pain in the arse. Oh, yeah. Yeah, lucky that it didn't do as much damage as I thought it was going to do. I was originally thinking it would snap this con rod in half, and it was a con rod that smashed the camshaft, but it must have been this, and the counterweight bit of the crank hit it. Let's just straighten it out. I wonder if it's just, yeah, definitely had a spun bearing. The bearing had spun. But I have got a, I ordered the standard bearings. Yeah, ordered the standard bearings. Yeah, she's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I kind of like these old Onan engines, how well built they are. They're very unique engines, so I would have loved to have fixed it and reconditioned it properly, but it's just too cost prohibitive. I'm confident when I get just replace the con rod and bearings and the camshaft, it'll run again. I think I got 2 sets of bearings. I'm pretty sure I did, because I want to replace the other ones as well. They've seemed quite fine. There's absolutely no play in that whatsoever. That feels completely fine. There's no damage in there. I got all the specs for this too, the torque specs for the bottom end and everything, so which is good. The oil's a bit sludgy in there. Yeah, since me and my old man got it, it's probably just had bad oil maintenance in the past, I reckon. Yeah, a bloody spun bearing. It had a spun bearing this whole time. Because all we did, me and my old man together running, we just pulled that head off and that was it. And just cleaned the crap out of the cylinder and polished it with light sanding and it ran. But I know next time, just take the bottom end off and do an inspection of any bearings and anything. That pays too. Pretty much goes for anyone who gets old things like this with engines. Just take the bottom end off and just have a good look and just rattle around with your hand the bottom end bearings. I mean, this one here, it feels alright. There's no really way of telling, but just shake it like this. That feels really good to me. That's an indication it's fine. But yeah, for more common engines like Hondas and other little engines like that, you can get parts of those pretty much locally for next to nothing, and then you just take the cap off, replace the bearings and be done with it. But something like this, and that feels pretty good to me. Who was to know anyway? Who was to know it was going to happen? That is spun bearing. Anyway, it is fixable, but just the actual, to get the new rod, proper standard new old stock I ordered too for this. A rod and bearings together with shipping was about just shy of, I don't know, about just shy of $200 all up with shipping to get it all here. So that's as much as I'm going to spend on this thing at the moment. That's about my limit. $200 I'd spend on fixing this thing up. I will still keep my eye out there. If forever a miracle strikes and there's one of these engines comes up for sale in the marketplace, next to nothing, I'm going to grab it. But yeah, these aren't very common engines though, so I would love to get this thing running again. But my main caveat, so to speak, is to get that bloody fan off to make the restoration job easier. Because the camshaft pushed the rear Welsh plug out the block. I'm not going to get that Welsh plug, just check it and make sure it's not damaged. I can set it back in. Anyway, that's where I'm at with this project. I'm only just scraped through getting this thing repaired. They were borderline right off. But I won't give up. As I said, these aren't a very common engine here in Australia, so they're quite a unique engine in their own right. I quite like the build quality and the construction of them. They're pretty much on par with a car engine / small engine. You got the pressurised lubrication and the sump like a normal car engine, and the bearing and bottom end. There is all cast iron construction, which I really like, except for the heads. You can get alloy. There is alloy con rods available for these own hands. Some did have that. You didn't have these bearings. You just had the alloy, but this is a better concept, more durable having cast iron all throughout. Anyway, that'll be enough for now. Thanks for watching.